The email pings. It looks innocuous. Facebook User Privacy Settlement Administrator. But then you see the subject line. Your claim has been approved. Payment to arrive within days. 19 million Americans. Nearly 2 decades of Facebook usage. A payout that's about to be sent. If you use Facebook at any point between May 2007 and December 2022, you might have just been awarded some money. Something many thought would never happen. A settlement of $725 million tied to Facebook's handling of your private data. The same data allegedly shared without permission by third-party apps, advertisers, developers. The Cambridge Analytica scandal haunted headlines. But this is real. Why did Facebook agree to this? The lawsuits allege years of data sharing without true consent. Meta denies wrongdoing, damage control, many say. But regardless, the money is being distributed, and it's not coming evenly. Lawyers, lead plaintiffs take their cut first. Then the rest, people like you. Imagine opening your notification. Maybe you get $5 or maybe $30, maybe a little more, depending on how long you were an active user. That small amount, for many, feels symbolic. Your privacy, your data, your voice. But here's the kicker. Millions filed. More than was anticipated. So the payouts, after all the math, after all the fees, shrink small. Still, for some, it's vindication. What you don't expect. Just how many people were eligible, how many stepped forward, and how complicated distributing $725 million would turn out to be. And more importantly, what this says about power, tech, and the value of privacy in our digital age. But behind every lawsuit, there's a battlefield, a fight over rights, over money, over trust. And the stakes? They go far beyond just a few dollars in your account. What happened next in court stunned many. In a world where every click, every post, every friend invite adds up, privacy is our currency. And for years, Facebook was spending it freely, sometimes invisibly, allegedly without full permission. The Cambridge Analytica scandal exploded in 2018. Revelations that a political consulting firm harvested data from millions of Facebook users without full disclosure. Headlines, outrage, investigations. But then what? Lawsuits followed. Not just one, but many. Users claimed their personal information. Usage data, friend connections, app interactions have been shared with third parties, advertisers, developers, even political operatives. The harms claimed. Loss of control over personal life, potential misuse of sensitive data, erosion of trust in every agree button you clicked. Meta, the parent company formerly known simply as Facebook, tried to defend, but the volume of plaintiffs grew. The weight of evidence, or at least the risk of trial, pushed towards settlement. In 2023, Meta agreed $725 million, a nationwide class action to remedy alleged privacy violations for those who used Facebook between May 24th, 2007 and December 22nd, 2022. Why does this matter to you? Because if you were active on Facebook during that period, even if you deleted your account, it affects you. Because this isn't just cash. It's a statement about how user data is handled in the U.S. It sets precedent. It shows tech giants can be held accountable. It reminds us privacy is not just legalese. It's personal. And yet, when the legal dust settled, the cutting didn't stop. $725 million sounds huge. But subtract attorney fees, $180-$185 million. Costs, administrative overhead, and divide the remainder across millions and millions of users. Suddenly that lottery check feels modest. But perhaps the real value is not the size, it's the accountability. Because behind the official filings, behind Meta's defenses, there are personalities, conflicts, moral arguments. Who pushed hardest? Who stood up? And when pushback came, what arguments did Facebook use to hold on to power? Meta Platforms, formerly Facebook, sits in the crosshairs. To many, a tech giant that shaped how we connect, but also a giant whose shadow crosses our private lives. Let's walk back to 2018. The Cambridge Analytica revelations. A political consultancy used an app to extract data from tens of millions of Facebook users. Friend networks, likes, behaviors, without explicit permission. without clarity. Once the media exposed it, Facebook was forced to answer. Meta denied wrongdoing under the settlement. It agreed to pay, yes, but for reasons including avoiding prolonged legal risks, not an admission of guilt. Attorneys objected. The settlement's cost was massive, but so was the risk of losing in trial, worse public relations, unpredictable verdicts, perhaps even stricter regulation. Facebook's defense argued. Many users consented to terms of service, to sharing with third-party apps indirectly, that technical notices were provided, data use was disclosed, some were buried or opaque. The company also challenged the magnitude, that $181 million to lawyers is fair, about 25% of settlement, but some objectors called it too generous. Meta also defended delays, appeals, objections, procedural hurdles. These are common in huge class actions. Some critics argued this drags out justice. Because yes, if you file a claim, you were waiting years. And yes, even after the deadline to opt out July 2023, some users complained they didn't fully understand what they agreed to. There's arrogance in power. Critics say, when a platform used daily by billions gets to decide, in small print, how user data is shared. When trust is built with terms nobody reads. When control is asserted through legal preemptions. But Meta's counterarguments. Settlement avoids uncertain outcomes. The risk of sending payouts into the billions if claims multiplied. Regulatory risk. Damage to reputation. Also, that many users gave permission. Arguments around app developers, advertiser. At hearings, the objection phase got heated. Class members asked, is this enough? Is $700 million sufficiently making up for years of alleged violations? Or is this just damage control? Some claimed the payouts per person would be microscopic. But Meta and its lawyers insisted. Fairness, precedent, legal norms. When all was said and done, the judge approved it. But that didn't end the fight. Because once consented, paid, and published, the next question was, who actually ends up winning? The plaintiffs, everyday Americans, not tech moguls, not lobbyists, library users, high school students, parents, small-town office workers, someone who posted baby photos, someone who ran a business page, someone who just scrolled through their feed. Meet Sarah. Sarah had a Facebook account from 2010 to 2019. She used Facebook to share family photos, see political news, connect with old friends. She didn't read privacy policies in detail. She didn't sign up to have her data possibly shared with dozens of obscure app developers or advertisers she never heard of. But still, her friends list her likes. Her searches may have been collected, used, or sold. Meet Alan. He opened his first Facebook in 2007, the early years. He posted less, but was always on the platform. Even when he wasn't using FB actively, his account existed, data accumulated. For long-term users like him, the payout is higher because each month of activated account counts. But Alan knows, even $30 isn't going to replace every moment, but it's something. These are people who trusted Facebook to be the platform for connection, yet felt betrayed not by a single breach, but by a long pattern. Apps with unclear permissions, third parties getting access, lack of transparency. To them, this settlement is recognition. However small, that data matters. That online identity is not property to be traded invisibly. The plaintiffs in the case, the user class representatives, 8 in number, lead plaintiffs volunteer to be public, to bring evidence, to argue in court. For them, it was personal, not just a small check, but principle. They fought for clarity in how user data is used, for accountability from companies that seem above oversight. Meanwhile, many eligible users never filed claims. Some didn't know. Some didn't trust the process. Others dismissed $25 to $30 as too little to bother. But that's a story, too, because eligibility often means knowing, and many were caught unaware for years. The settlement was approved in 2023 by U.S. District Judge Vince Chabria. Meta defended it. The plaintiffs pressed it, but not everyone was happy. Some class members filed objections. They said this payout is too low. Lawyers are taking too much. The period covered is too long. or vague. One main objection: the attorney fees, $181 million or so, plus costs around $4 million. Critics argued that while lawyers deserve compensation, when fees approach 25% of the total, it feels heavy, especially when the individual amounts are small. Another issue: the method of calculating allocations. Each active month equals one allocation point. But what counts as active? What about users who deleted data or paused usage? What about those who never clicked opt out or saw fine print privacy changes? These become moral debates. Do people know what they consented to? Is consent meaningful when policies shift? Meta argued, the settlement is fair, reasonable. The court vetted it. The amount is large. Appeal court action was required to challenge some objectioners. But for many plaintiffs, the promise of closure and compensation was more important than holding out for maybe more. Public reaction, social media debates. Some users celebrated, others mocked. I get $7? Hardly worth the email. Memes, threads, screenshots. People comparing $25 to $30 to what Facebook allegedly got from their data over the years. Journalists asked, is this a precedent? Will companies settle rather than change behavior? Then there's issues of trust. How to ensure future data is handled differently. Will Meta change anything structurally? Or is this just a cost of business? A checkbox to avoid more lawsuits? Then came the appeals, the confirmations, and now payments. But what happens when checks start flying out? Will people feel vindicated or disappointed? September 2025. Emails land. Notifications flood inboxes. Your claim has been approved. The notices come from Facebook User Privacy Settlement Administrator. Claimants are told, payments start now, going out over the next 10 weeks. Let's break down the math. $725 million is the headline, but of that, $180.5 million goes to attorneys, nearly $4 million to expenses. 8 lead plaintiffs receive around $120,000 total among them. The rest, over $540 million, is for the massive claimants. Over 19 million valid claims were filed. That exceeded expectations. More people wanted their privacy accounted for than predicted. The median payment is expected to land in the $25 to $30 range. Maximum payout for those with full 15 years of active usage edges higher, roughly close to $38.36 in some reports. Minimums could be under $5 for short-term users. How are people paid? Multiple methods: PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, direct deposit, prepaid MasterCard, paper check. And claimants don't need to do anything more. If they already submitted their info, no extra verification. The settlement administrator confirms that. Emails will give notice 3 to 4 days before a payment is due. There's pride in some numbers. Over 28 million claimants approved in some reporting. Over 19 million valid claims processed. The biggest claims pool in U.S. privacy class action history. This is a landmark. But the reveal isn't entirely uplifting for everyone. A person who used Facebook for 6 months gets 6 allocation points. A long-time user gets many more. Yet the pot only goes so far. The more people claim, the smaller each share becomes. It's scale working against individual value. Some will receive checks so small they barely cover coffee. Others will feel the money is symbolic. And in the moment when millions check their apps or mailboxes, some will sigh, some will celebrate, some will shake their head. But across the country, this moment also sends a message. Yes, your data matters. Yes, the law recognizes that sometimes you deserve compensation when trust is broken. What happens now, after the checks, after the PR? Because this is far from over. The news spreads fast. Social media lights up. Hashtags like hashtag privacy payday, hashtag Facebook settlement, hashtag data rights trend. On X, formerly Twitter, people share screenshots. Got mine. Only $8 though. They charge me for my own data. Threads comparing how many active months people had and what they were paid. Memes make light of the $30 check versus what you'd pay for coffee. Journalists dig deeper. Columnists ask, was this enough? Law professors weigh in. Is this settlement a model or a warning? Are class actions the best way to enforce privacy norms, or do they just let big companies off cheaply? Congress notices. Some lawmakers tweet about stronger data protection laws. Bills are proposed or reintroduced. Consumer advocates demand clearer privacy policies. The FTC, already in tech's crosshairs, is scrutinized again. Will there be real reform or more superficial settlements? Meta responds with statements, emphasizing that they are putting this matter behind them, that they value privacy and have made changes since 2018. But critics say such statements are reactive, that policy changes are too minimal or slow. Some ask, will Meta embed better user choices? Will third-party access be more strictly controlled? Public trust is shaky. For some users, this settlement restores a little. For others, no amount of money can repair feeling used. Some delete accounts. Some reduce posting. Some shift to platforms they believe handle data better. Meanwhile, privacy activists see opportunity, leverage this moment to push for broader rights, informed consent, transparency, data portability, limits on third-party sharing, maybe even a privacy bill of rights. Because payments may be going out, but legal battles, moral questions, and tech regulation are just getting started. And with this case now precedent, many are watching. What will the courts and lawmakers do next when the next data scandal breaks? So what just happened? A $725 million settlement. 19+ million valid claimants. Median payout about $25 to $30. Law firms get their fees. Admin costs taken. Users finally seeing their money, their acknowledgement. But more than that, Facebook was forced to own a portion of its responsibility. Users, people like you and me, saw that our claims, our indignation, our expectations of privacy have weight. If you got one of those emails, check it. You should receive notice 3 to 4 days before your payment arrives. If you don't see anything, keep watching your inbox and spam. If you used Facebook between 2007 to 2022 and submitted a claim, make sure your payment method info is up to date. Now, here's where you come in. Comment. Did you get your payment yet? How much? If not, what was your usage period? Tag others. Let's see what people earned. Share your story. Was the check meaningful? Did it feel like justice? If you believe in stronger privacy, if you believe companies should be more transparent, subscribe. Because this fight isn't over. Post this video. Share the information. Spread awareness. Because when more people know, more people demand better.